Where we had picked up, or left off, I should say, was you all had just manifested aboard the deck of the Maw. Seltur, you see these two appear in, you said, what, black and violet swirls, like a swirl of smoke?
Yep.
Okay. Before anything else, Mordecai, I need a constitution save from you. Because Celine is soft and bloody and a tender morsel in your arms after the heat of combat and a growing hunger.
Oh boy. Alright. Big money.
That's a 9. So
I did have a thing. I did actually have a thing about that too.
hmm?
What Selena was going to do is, while she's injured, she is kind of pouring blood from places. So she was actually going to gather up a little bit in a cup and feed it to him.
There's no time for such, for finding a cup,
Yeah.
holding it to a wound. This is, you all just appeared on deck. I mean, Celine, you
You're
maybe
in his arms.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're holding on to Celine. You're in the embrace. Celine, your heart is going doki doki after combat here. Mordecai is holding you in his arms. And Mordecai leans in for a kiss. And, yep. How many hit points do you have left, Celine?
I have.
Before the 46 I dumped in you.
I had 3.
Oh, my. Okay. So, Celine?
Oh boy, I'm gonna get drained out right on the deck of the ship. Survive the sand dogs, only to be drained by my own party members. Hallelujah.
Fun how things work. Alright, so Mordecai, you begin drinking from Celine, who slips into a... Yeah, I'm not going to pretend this is necessarily a blissful thing like the kiss in Vampire the Masquerade. It can be. I mean, if you're infatuated with Mordecai, he's giving you a big ol' smooch, and everything kind of goes black. Seltur, these two lovebirds are making out on the deck of your ship. Isn't that romantic?
Oh,
Please.
it is.
Aww.
Don't kill me. Please don't kill me.
Now you know
I
what?
don't want to
Time
die
to-
this far in. I survived 45. I've survived 44 and a half sessions. I don't want to die.
Lethality. I want you to look right here. Sucks to be you, doesn't it?
Oh no, out of character I'm completely okay, but I'm just like, at the same time, I'm totally okay if she does, but at the same time I'm like, I survived 44 and a half sessions, please don't let this happen.
No, I don't
Celine?
wanna do it.
Make a death saving throw.
Death
This
save?
looks perfectly fine, right? Like, this looks perfectly normal. They had a near-death encounter, and now
That's a
they're in
fail.
each other's loving embrace. I'm just gonna leave it there.
Mordecai, another
Okay.
gulp down. Celine is totally given in to you here. Celine, make another death saving throw.
Oh no. No.
Fail.
No,
So we have
no,
a
no,
5
no,
and
no,
an
no.
8.
No.
Mordecai
no.
takes another big gulp out of Celine.
Is there anything out of the ordinary? No, Celine's just going with it. Okay.
He's
Okay.
been doubled over
I
her.
can't do anything.
You've done this before even, where she's like,
It's 18 seconds now. It's super long for a kiss.
And Celine.
I'm going to.
No.
Yeah.
Can I wisdom saving throw?
I'm waiting for some sort of like struggle or pulse of life to make you remember that you're not drinking a Capri Sun right now.
Yes, I need to do that. That's something that would come up to him.
So statistically,
Okay.
there have
You
been
know
two
what?
55% chances that should have happened.
Yes, please.
You know what? because look like they're having too much fun without me. I'm going to purposely rock the ship, just to kind of toss, because they're not in the perfect center. They're a little bit. So I'm going to purposely raise one side of the ship, then immediately lower it down, and then break it up. And I think with a 27, that'll work.
Please let me wisdom saving throw. Or something. I need to break free.
Let's see if you are.
I need to break free or cure her.
Let's see. This physical prompt. This is more of a. A physical save here, because you're being in a sense forcefully parted from your lover Celine here, and so we have the ship is kind of like giving a little bounce, like a little love nudge and a wink from Seltur in the pilot house. For you to maintain your grip, I am going to need a strength saving throw from you to hold on to your precious Celine here. And
27.
You I mean, in a meta sense, if you don't want Celine to be drained,
I don't.
Love nudge.
12-sided guy is giving a love nudge. So 12-sided, how do you want that to manifest in some way as a love nudge? But so Mordecai is 12-sided is clarifying that a little bit here. This is going to be a strength save, and if you fail to hold on to Celine, you'll tumble away. I mean, so too will Celine. If you make it, you're just given bits. Do you want to influence this crucial moment, 12-sided guy? But yes, if you roll Mordecai, let's see, what would this be? Celine. I mean, Celine's just a piece of luggage. Let's set this to be a 14. A plus check not to separate the lovers. Oh, well, I guess that's in my advantage then, so to speak.
So wait, to clarify, if I make the save, I'm still attached to her?
Yeah, you're hanging on to her, and so you're gonna gulp. I'm gonna ask her to make another death saving throw.
And that seems to imply that you're now rolling at disadvantage.
You want to fail.
Yes, I want to fail.
Although 12-sided guy says that he doesn't want to separate the lovers.
So you're rolling at advantage, I guess, is the case.
Not advantage. Not with 100, but
Just with a plus or a lower DC or something.
12-sided. If Mordecai holds on, Celine will most likely be drained of her blood and die.
Oh no, he wants the opposite. He wants to separate them so Celine stays alive. Is what he wants by the looks.
He's taking the longer term stay together.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he wants to separate the two so that Celine stays alive, or at least
Yes.
that's what I'm guessing.
Please.
Am I
Well,
right?
12-sided, as a
Oh.
fickle god, you
Am
can
I
decide.
right in Yeah, so not the bad thing.
Not the bad thing. Okay.
Yeah, well, I got your intention.
All right.
Cool.
So I'll lower it by 2 to a 12. Oh, wait, you already.
I had natural zeroed.
Oh my goodness. You rolled twice and got 0 and 0.
Natural 1 minus
Good.
1.
He wanted to fail. That's good.
Yep.
I just don't want to go flying off the edge of the ship. Because then I will die.
Mordecai, as you're embraced, you are feeding off of Celine. The ship pitches, and you just go tumbling away. Totally, like, you are so enraptured in the moment. I mean, a 00, come on. That is uncanny. I can't screen cap this because it's hidden behind my display. Well, if one of you wants to take a snipping tool and show off your 00s, you're welcome to brag about it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, you go rolling away from Celine, who does, she collapses to the deck. Mordecai, the embrace has been broken. You have the remains of her blood. And you snap to. You can do one thing before I ask for a death saving throw from Celine, who is still dying.
Bonus action healing word. At level 1. For 7 hit points.
Celine? You have 7 hit points. However, you are... As much as you were having whiteouts before, everything is white. There's you. And you are... You are in your natural state. But with kind of semi-translucent robes of flame that are just like wisping over your body, enough to provide a silhouette for PG-13 purposes. You don't see anyone, hear anyone. Everything is just sort of white.
I know I'm not in the Cabal Macabre, but nowhere near enough black ice.
Mordecai? Celine is slumped on the deck. She is pale, too. You, however, are flushed with life and feel invigorated and full.
But I tumbled away? Question mark? Or am I on the ship still?
You're on the ship. You just got tossed over.
Okay.
You just were like kicked away like 10 feet. You did a little tumble.
And I'm feeling okay now. I feel like I've got my faculties about me. I'm not being controlled.
Yeah, you had a pretty healthy drink.
All right, so I'm gonna go back up to her and make sure that she's okay.
She's breathing shallowly.
Celine? I'm gonna cast another Cure Wounds.
Okay. Her rent flesh is starting to repair. She doesn't come around. Her body's at least living enough that it's repairing itself.
Okay. So I just take her in my arms, and I'm gonna go down to the deck of the ship, and down below decks, and put her in her room.
Oh, well, ain't that adorable? The lovebirds want their private time.
Celine?
I'm guessing there's currently no response.
There's a red speck in the distance of the limitless white.
I'm gonna go towards the red speck.
Very well. Mordecai, are you staying below decks?
Yep, I'm staying with her. I'm not taking my eyes off her.
Seltur, what's your current behavior pattern?
Somebody's gotta fly this bird. So,
Just in any direction, or where do you want to go?
well, I believe the objective was to head south, so we are heading south. Best of my understanding of the term, anyway.
Okay. Celine, you're walking. This kind of gown made of translucent flame kind of flickers and wafts behind you as you do. You approach. And you are actually getting closer to this figure. I mean, a distance that seems like, 10 miles is rather quickly traversed by you. And as you draw closer, you see that there's a lady in red who's standing very properly, kind of hands in front. Nice dress, as you've seen before.
Is it familiar? Very familiar?
Yep, you've seen this dress before on the outskirts of Flowerfield.
Celine will take a knee and bow.
Celine, rise.
And she does so.
You behold a beautiful woman's face. Beautiful in life and death. As half of it is missing flesh. Half of it has the blush of life and rosy skin to it. One blue eye, one green eye. Maybe even slightly elven features, too. Difficult to tell. Her hair is absolutely fantastic. And it's covering up her ears.
Oh, looks somewhat elven. Just like me.
Celine, are you dead?
Yes. Most likely dying, but dead.
How does this make you feel, Celine?
It fills me both simultaneously with an eternal peace and yet a longing. A longing that stings.
What could you possibly long for, Celine? You're a gifted woman.
I long to see out what it is that I have started. To be the conduit of your will as I was meant to be. To have this excuse me a moment. I have this longing to do the job that I was meant to, because it is far from finished. The to
save the world from itself undergoing a reversion most primal, something that should not be. The return. Well, it is the return of something before its time. Of all the things that should return, because everything has its point in the cycle. Of all the things that should return, the things that wish to return do not. Should not.
If you were to accomplish this, Celine... What would you do with the knowledge you've gained and the power?
I would seek to keep the balance. To show the people of this world the wonders whilst keeping at bay those who would commit acts that are abhorrent.
You know that everything has a price. Every bit of magic, every birth, every death, every season. There's a price to it all, Celine. I wonder, then, given your teachings and your firmly held beliefs, if it meant achieving your goals, what would you be willing to pay?
It's a question one could ponder until the end of time and still not find an answer.
Unfortunately, time is something that you do not have. You are balanced upon a razor's edge right now. At this moment, you are perhaps one heartbeat away from death claiming you. You claim that you have work yet to finish, and so here we are, my faithful priestess. You can come with me into the sweet embrace of eternity, to ponder forever the things that you've wondered about, to study mysteries you can't fathom as you yet live. Or if you believe as you do, you can be sent back. But one way is easier than the next. And despite my disposition, my sweet Celine, a woman who shares my power and is granted to her because of her conviction, of her faith, her will. What will you give so that you may get?
and I pledged my service to you. I pledged to you everything that I am, everything that I was, and everything that I will ever be. So in the end, the only thing that I can give you, the only thing that I possess that I have already given you, is the results of my conviction. Wherever that path leads. And it's the only thing that I can offer, my lady, for you have everything else. And when it is time for me to join you in the Cabal Macabre, you will have my physicality as well.
Her eyes flick from you and down and away. However, not necessarily out of contemplation, as her eyes seem to not linger, but return to you quickly. I don't know if you're doing anything in response to this or if you're maintaining a presence in front of her.
Maintaining a presence and kind of wondering what it is that she might be glancing at, but I'm not really in a position to question now, am I?
Then, Celine, as you balance on this razor's edge between life and death, as you are fully willing to give of yourself in your complete death to me, I will return you to life, but I will keep a part of you as a payment in good faith. The rest to be collected upon your death, if this is not to be your final.
As it always has been. So shall it always be.
A hand raises up towards you. Are you doing anything?
If it's if it's a hand like offered,
Mm-hmm.
then Celine shall take it.
You take it, and you are drawn in. And as you are embraced, you see that the hand that is holding hers, your flesh begins to peel back, spreading from your hand holding hers to your elbow and up. She takes her hand and caresses your cheek, Celine. Then go. Go back and do your work. And now, fly. And you feel yourself tumbling through the whiteness and the black as things are coming together. you're fighting for consciousness. And well, we'll see what happens when you wake up. Mordecai, you rush to get Celine situated. Your cure spells have stopped her bleeding. She's breathing shallowly. Her hair is a mess, and she's in she's in kind of these makeshift robes that she's made from the cloth and the armor and such. As you lay her out and tend to her, you see that a part of her is missing. Well, the part's not missing. It's simply exposed. Her left side, her hand, her arm, the skin simply, almost in a ghostly fire, evaporates from her body. And for a moment, you think you almost see several streaks across her cheek. And from that, the kindling flame burns away half of her flesh, leaving her eye socket empty save for a blue orb. She's breathing.
Better? Shallower?
Shallow, but steady.
Come on, Celine. Come on, I can't do this without you.
Celine, your eyes open. For a moment. Well, your eye, I should say. But the other one seems to come into focus. It's hazy. Everything hurts. Curing spells don't mean that you get off pain-free. It just means you've stopped bleeding. Everything hurts, inside and out. And there's Mordecai. Over you. There's blood on him as well, but you were fighting some monsters.
Are you alright?
Fine enough.
I'm sorry.
Everything hurts.
I'm so sorry.
Gonna look to my left side.
You have neither skin nor muscle. You can move your hand.
What is that?
A price I paid.
Okay.
And slowly, Celine will sit up.
Everything is cracking. Not just the ship, but I mean, kind of like it. Everything is cracking and creaking as you do.
You should take it easy.
I'm gonna have to find a way to hide this.
Yeah. Like, a price to pay? For what?
For coming back.
Celine, by the way, etched into your It's etched into your palm. Like the pattern of the bone itself is a symbol to Ouijas.
She asking you to end vampirism?
No, she asked for good faith that I gave it. A choice that I made wholly on my own.
Okay.
Not only to
I
come
don't
back
get it.
so that I, not only to come back so I could finish my work, but to come back to you. And she places her hand, and when she gestures to him, she places a finger on his chest. Like, don't worry.
Okay. Whatever you need.
So, just as a question, mechanically, what does this actually... Is it just a disfigurement, or...
Mechanically, nothing has changed. Well, I mean, it might change interactions with people depending. This is something that is, at least right now, more cosmetic. I mean, we'll explore things on the road, but right now, you don't feel stripped of your power. Neither do you feel, super empowered or charged by Ouijas. You feel like you're in absolute pain. Everything hurts. You have very little energy. And in fact, in this moment, Jack will even wiggle out from under the pillow. Celine, what happened? You weren't there for a minute. Whoa! Looks to you, Mordecai. Is she dead?
No. No, she's alive.
I'm not
Thankfully.
dead.
We're so close. I am so sorry.
I would say that now I exist in neither. Not truly dead, not truly alive, not undead, such as yourself. I simply now walk that fine line, but I have the feeling that this is the only second chance that I'm going to get. If it happens again,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
if anything happens again that causes me to cross that threshold, I won't be coming back.
I can't. I can't lose anybody else.
Don't think of it as losing me, Mordecai. Simply think of it as me going to where my destiny leads. It was going to be this way from the beginning. Ever since I pledged myself into service, it was always going to be this way, that eventually, when I suppose what people would call the Reaper came for my soul, that it would travel to be by my mistress's side.
Jack speaks up. That's a lot like what that Jade lady was saying.
Yeah.
She and
Jade
I were
talked a
more...
lot about destiny.
She pokes your skeletal hand. Jack pokes your skeletal hand. Whoa.
Like, simply put, on that, she was correct. She had a destiny as well. That, we don't know whether she's dead or not. She was consumed by a flesh tree, not necessarily killed. More assimilated. But if we're talking about death, if one believes so holy being or has made a pact with a being in their life, when they die, to that being does their soul go. Me joining her was simply an inevitability. It was bound, it was going to happen whether I really liked it or not.
That's kind of what happens to us when we die, says Jack.
It's like, you go and join your master, mistress, whichever.
I'm not quite sure what Orlan's would be, but yes. Can you believe people try and kill me?
Celine just kind of looks down and is like, Jack, I can 100% understand why someone would try and kill you.
Oh, thank you. At least someone understands.
She just looks over at Mordecai with a...
I have a feeling that my destiny's been called into question in my thoughts a lot lately.
Destiny? Nah, that's a bunch of baloney. Be free. Choose to go where you want. I mean, unless someone else tells you that you listen to. But other than that, be free.
It's like this, Mordecai. If you're not cured of your vampirism, then anything aside, any extenuating factors aside, you will, so long as you can feed, you will exist indefinitely. If I manage to cure you, then you will... It will be back to what it was before you became a vampire. You will go to the place... You don't worship a deity in the capacity that I do. So you would simply go to the place that most corresponds with you as a person, wherever that may be.
Any way you look at it, if you're to be some kind of tool of vengeance to get rid of undeath or something of that sort, I'm gonna make sure you see it through.
No, I am not a that kind of tool. What I am is something different.
What's that?
I am, I suppose, what you would call I suppose I am what you would call a conduit of divine will.
Whatever you want to call it, I guess.
Well, it's not necessarily the stamping out of undead.
I guess.
It is to keep things as they should be, according to the purview of Mistress's portfolio. To show people the wonders of magic and to suppress magic aberration and abhorrence. To make sure death stays as a sacred thing. In the end, right that happens at the end of everyone's life that is utterly sacrosanct.
Jack starts melting into your skeletal arm, Celine.
It's like, I wonder if that'll actually be useful.
In your mind, you hear him say, I'm really curious. I wonder if this is going to work. I've never experienced anything like this before. Oh, man. Orleans is going to really love this. And Mordecai... I mean, Celine, you see this too, but Mordecai is you're on the outside looking in. Where Jack had crawled and sort of soaked into Celine's skeletal left hand. Flesh... Well, unfortunately, were it real. But it's apparently illusory flesh, as it starts forming at her fingertips and grows up until just about past her elbow. Like almost where like a t-shirt sleeve would cut off. And then you see just sort of like a laceration, but instead of kind of a blue, like a bloody, like a bloody color, like, you know, cut all the way around, it's this kind of phosphorescent Jack blue that's creating a kind of a jagged line here.
That's weird.
And the as you're looking at the arm, Celine, Jack's going to ask you to wiggle your fingers and try and do a couple things. You see there's a couple times that the bones are pulled through the illusory skin as Jack is trying to get the hang of things. Whoa. You're hearing in your head, Celine. And a couple times the image almost seems to like shake or have some sort of like what we would consider like a digital, like a tracking effect, where it's sort of like spasm a little bit, like interference. Celine, hang on, stay still. I want to... Something's resisting my illusions. But hang on. And Mordecai, you can see as Celine sits up. I mean, she has her bloody robes. You've probably removed that. And you can see down her body. I mean, where there's no flesh. But as Jack seems to move up, the tips of her fingers become bone again. So almost like he can only cover a part of her at any point in time. But you see, almost like it would be the effect of like a flashlight in the dark, illuminating something as you trace it over. You see Celine almost once more as Jack moves up. With the exception of the eye. The eye is still just that blue orb. However, her face is restored at the cost of hand and arm and shoulder. And so you get that kind of twitchy, phosphorescent blue line here, as her face, with the exception of her eye, is simulated through illusion. And then Jack pours down her body, once more highlighting Celine before plopping out in his blue fox form again.
That's gonna take a lot of getting used to.
I'll say.
That felt really weird. Like before, I was in your body and I was in your mind, but this time I really had to try.
It could be the thing that... Actually, where is that mark? Was that mark on my left side?
I forget offhand. I don't know if I assigned...
If it was, that would be visible now. If it's not already gone.
I don't know. We'll say it's on your right side. The mark is still there.
Okay. I think the main issue is going to be that I'm going to have to walk back out and talk to Seltur.
Yeah. She already thinks we're crazy people. guys need together,
suppose.
right?
With this, I am more like my mistress now than I ever have been.
Yeah. It's weird. Just from an aesthetic standpoint, you know, it's weird.
Well,
Don't want to be rude, but
what is it that you're going to do? You could either have me like this or not at all, so...
I, you're right. Not at all is not acceptable.
I know. And Celine is gonna try and hop up and stumble out.
Ooh, you probably should just take it easy.
She's gonna walk very slowly and use the wall of support.
I'll support her.
While Seltur is flying the ship, she's gonna hear from the front deck. Hey kids, you wanna see a dead body? Cause I'm sure that'll get her attention.
All right, so Mordecai, you want to help Celine up. This is a slow process. Like, she's kind of dragging her
Oh, yeah.
feet. Is trying to be a trooper here, but
I'm doing what I can. I
well-
don't know how to treat people.
Seltur,
I'm
eventually
gonna
these
get
two stagger up into the pilot house.
Now, where have you two been all night?
And now she'll be able to see that Celine's missing half of her face.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not trying to hide it, or I know you have long hair, but
How am I gonna hide it? I don't have any illusion magic.
you have Jack.
You see, if it's not the face, it's the hand. If it's not the hand, it's the face.
Yeah.
Either way, it's
Either way.
visible.
Something to do with gods. That's all I know.
She kind of resembles the big face that's been burnt into the top deck of the ship.
Yeah. Yeah. Near-death experiences for Ouija worshippers, I swear.
Oh, great. Now I have to end up dealing with two undead. Good enough.
I'm still alive.
Yeah.
I have to look you in the eye to end up believing that, and that is very difficult given the fact that I'm pretty sure I can put my finger into the other side. Mordecai, are you expecting to get freaky with that thing?
Jack,
What?
face please.
I'm sorry, say it again.
No.
I was coughing.
She's like, Jack, face please.
Seltur, you see kind of a phosphorescent blue kind of like coalesce over her face. So the eye is still a black socket with a blue pearl inside of it, but her face has been restored with the exception of kind of like a fidgety line of phosphorescent blue down by her shoulder.
Ugh.
It's just like, well, it's something that I have to live with now. But no.
Gift to the gods.
Mm-hmm.
You individuals confuse me in ways I cannot even begin to express. Now,
I can't begin to express it to you, so...
If you think I understand it, then good luck.
I stopped questioning that a long time ago when I realized that you're walking around with the blood-sucking fiend. Hey, Riggy.
My name's Mordecai.
Bring in Muffin Top. Good enough.
It's like, it doesn't matter. Let's just go back downstairs. I'm gonna need some rest before I can do anything.
Before you do, Celine, make an insight at disadvantage.
Nope.
8.
That's
Okay.
a natural one.
Yep. Okay. Your mind is fogged with pain.
Yeah, gonna go and rest
Hmm.
and see
I'll
if
help
I
her
can't
down.
figure out.
I mean, I might be able to fix myself up, but it's gonna be, you know, 5 levels before I can do that.
As they retire, I mean, it's still. We could say some time has passed with them being downstairs and you flying. I wouldn't say it's nighttime just yet. But Seltur, so Celine is half the woman she was. Mordecai's down there with her. Your ship is still creaking, and you swear you something's making that pinging noise, and that one engine is still it's having fits and starts, and occasionally the whole ship just shudders.
And I can't leave this without the whole thing just going south.
You gonna set down?
Yeah, I'm gonna need my rest at some point tonight, but we'll settle down. I'm going to continue to look into that whole ping thing.
Okay. And Lethality, I know you got to get going here, so we can wrap things up so you can get to your one shot.
Yep.
Mordecai, Selena's fast asleep. She's breathing. It's really interesting watching her chest rise and fall, even though half of it is there. You're not seeing it. It's almost just like a nothingness, like between her bones or in. But it's nighttime. Seltur, I mean, you can snack on regular food. There's still a couple of the corpses. There's no zombies.
I need to end up getting my hands on whatever the heck that pain is. It's going to drive me slowly mad, I swear, and we don't need 3 people who have completely lost their minds and are not physically intact. Right now, I am the one and only, and I'd like for that to remain the case.
All right. Seltur, make an investigation. And Mordecai, what are you doing? It's evening. Celine is fairly stable. She's definitely in a deep sleep, though.
Just kind of contemplating. Maybe come out and pace a little bit. Just, I don't know, saying, like, being thankful that Celine is alive. And grateful that she is alive. Feeling terrible that I was the one who brought her that close. Just thinking.
Mordecai's out in the dunes, and Seltur's working on the ship. It's a reversal from before. All right. Seltur, you go out to the engine that's been giving you some trouble, and it does look kind of beat up. Obviously, it's not the one that was ripped off, but this one must have sustained some damage here. And, I mean, you'd know if something was broken just by looking at it. And you've seen rent metal or leathers or wires and all sorts of stuff melted and torn and everything. You put your, I guess your ear hole, or do you listen through your horns?
Lady never tells.
Understood. You listen to in a manner unique to your black dragonness. You listen to one of the engines, And you're kind of, I don't know, you're knocking, like, I don't know, you're listening for inconsistencies and things like that in the metal. And it sounds like there might be, like, air or something. Like, you're hearing kind of a very low hum or a kind of a breeze sound that's not the desert winds here at night. I mean, with evening coming, the temperature's changing, so it's causing wind to pick up. But this is something different. And you find a couple areas where the metal has been scraped. It doesn't necessarily look like it's been punctured, but there's definitely some gouges. And by placing your hearing receptacle to the gouge where the metal is thin, you can hear some kind of, like a buzz, a blowing, an odd, almost like a white noise. A static.
Does it sound mechanical in nature, or?
No.
Oh God, they're gonna think I'm crazy if they catch me talking to the engine. If you
No,
can
not really.
hear me, stop for a moment.
Perception at disadvantage.
I'm blind as bad, so sure.
An 11 or 11. The noise continues, as far as you can tell.
I start saying this in several different languages. See if there's a response. Just trying to cover. Maybe it's not common that it represents.
Okay.
Any response that I can be aware
of? This is the sole focus of what you're doing right now. You seem rather intent on diagnosing this, and so far we're not having to dip into any particular tools. This is just sort of asking questions, listening for answers, and knocking around on a big metal donut.
For all I know, somebody ended up trapping a giant air elemental in that thing, and if I let it out, it's coming out pissed.
Yeah, no, that's
You can't tell a language, but over time of you doing this, Seltur, the stars continue to reel through the sky. You think that you do hear whispers of a language. You're getting some semblance of a language. You're not sure what, but it's definitely not random, like the blowing wind or anything. There seems to be some kind of speech or pattern, but
She ends up walking down, and she ends up giving a knock on Celine's door.
She's snoring.
Very well then. I guess I gotta go to the one is awake all the time. So
Mordecai's out on a dune.
Mordecai. Yep. Can I spot him from the top of the ship?
You weren't trying to hide, were you, Mordecai? You just went out for a walk. Yeah. So you can see like little footprints and stuff like in the moonlight on the white sand, kind of whitish yellow sand. He's not like terribly far away. He didn't go out like a mile.
Very well then. I'm gonna go find him. And after I approach, if nothing happens and nothing tries to eat us.
You are correct in those presumptions.
What is Mordecai's general disposition right now?
Generally he's just contemplative. He's just kind of lost in thought for a moment. Just kind of looking out to the stars, to the moon particularly.
Oh, Riggy!
Seltur.
Captain. right now, I need to understand this. You being a practitioner of the arcane arts and what have you, I'm led to believe that communication is one of your specialties. Is that not correct?
Yeah, that's kind of a thing for me. Yeah.
All right, I would like for you to end up coming over. I kind of need your ear in a translation of something. Guess what? I have to put up with your craziness. This has just a little bit of payback. Come on over.
Okay. You need something translated?
Yes. Well, currently I would like to end up knowing on who's speaking and what they're screaming about. So,
All right. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go ahead and use the spell slot to cast comprehend languages.
well, let's do that while we're over near the. I'll show you what I mean. But yeah, she will direct and literally say, "Give it a listen and talk."
I do. I just listen. $23. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I keep muting because I was blowing my nose and everything. I keep forgetting to unmute when I come back here. So you're listening, Mordecai, and you do hear its speech. You swear it's speech, but it's also not saying anything. It's definitely not, wind blowing or the sounds of a brook burbling or rain falling or other kind of, natural or even kind of white noise necessarily. After a while, you can pick up something that you just feel is like a speech pattern.
Comprehend language just lets me understand any spoken language right now,
Correct.
but I
But it's
can't
gibberish, basically.
understand the gibberish.
Yeah.
There's a pattern to it. I don't understand it, even with my spell.
Well, then I suppose we look and we open it up and we figure out what's gonna try and eat us this time.
I will be prepared for that.
Oh, fantastic! Then you're gonna need this. She ends up handing him the screwdriver.
Okay.
I'm not about to wreck a valuable piece of equipment over a hunch.
Fair enough. I go to figure out how exactly to open this thing up.
Go ahead and make an investigation.
Investigation.
Statistically, you'll have to roll more than a 1 at some point in time. Okay, so there's a 14. I would also like you to roll an Arcana. You find an area that is kind of like an access hatch. And with your comprehend languages still being up, because this is taking place within this hour,
Yep.
it looks like there's all kinds of warnings about a fuel release.
Oh.
And to ensure that the proper wards are raised.
Oh. Okay. This is something we've forgot to really look into. There's these are going to inject exhaust.
And Mordecai, especially having this nice, fresh Selene blood flowing through you, why don't you give me a knowledge religion at advantage?
Religion at advantage. Oh.
There we go. Well, no new inspiration. But there might be some kind of exhaust. You're absolutely correct. But it's also talking about you have to have some kind of wards in place.
you'll have to wait for me to have sleep. I'm gonna run though, get
Yep.
stuff on the way, and I'll let you guys know when we go live.
Yep, we'll look for it.
We will see. All right, so I will see you guys next week.
Yep,
All
see you
right.
next week, Sleeping Beauty.
I get the feeling that we probably shouldn't open this up until we have something to protect us over it, some wards. I get the feeling that that's magical, not necessarily physical.
Wouldn't know.
I don't know. I don't know anything about wards.
Oh, Mordecai. You grew up. If I recall correctly, you said you grew up next to a temple of Ouijas, even.
Yes.
So you would definitely recognize as a part of this warning is a symbol to Ouijas.
Oh, okay.
It's not the one you're used to.
It's different.
Yeah.
For sure. Oh. This is either holy wards or these are arcane in nature with a Ouija's flavor.
Are you saying this out loud, or are you?
Yeah.
Seltur, you're not a follower of Ouijas, are you?
Honey, heavens no.
Huh.
Please. Don't insult me as such. No. I'm quite of a different stripe. Still, if Mordecai's expertise in the mechanical seems to be of some advantage here, so I would just assume to end up letting him go and do what he needs to do, and if he unleashes some form of unholy abomination by clearing the exhaust, well, that just seems par for the course at this point.
I'm still listening, see if I can distinguish a pattern in that speech. I don't.
Okay. Seltur, is this effectively you fancily saying you're going to retire for the evening and let Mordecai sort this out?
Bluntly, my hands are tied. What would it be expected of me to do?
Oh.
I have no expertise here. I have no ability to commune with. I have no way to assist in this. My technical knowledge is pretty much a miss. I'm just a pretty face here.
And yet you can start the engines.
Well, we can try.
Mordecai, Seltur could start the engines.
I'm gonna quickly cast mending on the broken bits.
Sure.
See if that kind of makes it seem a little less rattly.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple like a couple little like support or some little things that you're able to mend up. You know, you can hold the two pieces of something together and it'll sort of weld it.
I don't know. The fact that it's a speech pattern, but I can't understand it, even if I can understand languages, is baffling. This is a puzzle.
Well, at this point, Seltur is starting the engine, so hopefully he notices something interesting.
Seltur, go ahead and roll a persuasion for me. Mordecai, the engine begins to hum with that kind of bee sound. Starts out very low, and it's getting going.
Does the speech pattern become drowned out or become more intense?
It becomes more intense. It instead of kind of a soft bit of murmuring, it sounds now like a large. You've performed in large audiences, so if there's a large amount of people that are all just sort of like talking and chatting together, you get that background noise. Like you can't really
Yeah.
tell what people are saying, but there's definitely like 100 people saying a bunch of stuff.
Mm,
You're getting that.
but not screaming.
No, but the engines are still kind of getting going.
Mm. I'm gonna wait for them to kind of get to like a full force and see what happens then.
Okay.
We shall end up continuing.
It continues, and Mordecai, the metal's getting kind of cold underneath you, but the engines do still get up to this buzz, this buzzing hum. And now instead of just like it'd be more like 50 voices kind of in a small room. Now you have like 100 voices that are all speaking at the same time, but nothing is intelligible. Seltur, it does sound like Mordecai fixed whatever was pinging.
Fantastic.
Well, I suppose you can shut it down for now.
And I will do so. Good girl. Very wary of anybody actually hearing her talk to a ship.
Give me one more investigation, Mordecai.
All right. Let's actually roll a good number. That's a 20.
You're sitting out there. The engines are calming back down. You're thinking about things. The desert wind is blowing through your hair. The night sky is vast and open. Endless dunes surround you. It's been an emotional day. Voices. People? Ouijas. Control. Something. Seltur is at the wheel. As far as you know, Seltur doesn't know magic. I mean, she made 2 birds appear, but that's about the extent of it. And as far as you know, I got to keep qualifying as far as you know, because Seltur's still a pretty big mystery. As far as you know, Seltur hasn't exactly been like, yeah, I broke out all my tinker tools, or I broke out my carpenter tools, or I broke out my whatever tools.
Not that I have access to any of them at this current point in time, anyway.
And then you think to Celine. Ouijas. Magic. Control. I want you to make a religion at advantage.
Alright.
13.
Yep.
Undead. She made zombies. She mentioned she could make skeletons, but the Shadowheart Empire practice necromancy.
They've captured souls.
There's other types of undead. Wards. Wards that have the Ouija symbol on the outside of one of the engines. And you think back to the tales, the fairy tales, and particularly the ghost stories that you've been told.
Mm-hmm.
Ghosts can fly. Specters and wraiths and banshees.
Well, it's not just vampirism that they practice. And I'm gonna go up to Seltur.
Darling?
I figured out what this thing runs on.
Oh, fantastic. So, does this mean I can stop trying to end up figuring out on how to end up performing a religious ceremony to whatever
I-
her name is,
I
and
think that's still necessary because these are all souls.
that's funny. Now, what? Okay, so what are we actually looking for?
No, actually, like, they're trapped souls in these engines. There's ghosts and wraiths and banshees, and that's why it's unintelligible.
Why not? I mean, I'm currently having to end up having this conversation with a corpse.
How do you think
I
it is that
am-
you can power this thing by your sheer will?
Because I'm adorable.
Delightful. But no, it's arcane in nature, and it's powered by the souls of the undead, question mark. And your will controls them.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating topic. Now, how do you suppose I'm going to be doing that?
Like you have been.
Well, I don't think you happen to notice any holy symbols on me. I don't have a magic wand or a spell book. I have no way to end up communing, and outside of yourself, this was. I don't exactly have a history of communing with the dead, so I'm gonna have to throw that one out the window for you, Mordecai.
Nope, this thing is powered by the arcane. And somehow, I don't know exactly what it is about you that allows you to do that, but you control the arcane in some fashion. I know it.
You can keep telling yourself that, but fact of the matter is that the only thing I've even remotely have arcane has to do with whatever the hell's in my neck. Now, if
Sure.
that has something to do with that, then that allows me to fly. Then I'm all about having this little cancerous mass that is pressing very close to my spine and my acid glands in order to end up continuing on. Because as far as I'm concerned, that's a little bit of help right now. Now,
Fair enough, but that's what this thing runs on, and if we open up that hatch, we're letting it all out. Just making you aware.
You did rather well, Mordecai, with your 20 investigation, as you're having this conversation with Seltur. And again, if you believe her, and that's between you two. I'm gonna stay out of that one. As far as you knew, the command ship only had two verifiable, like, what you can strongly presume are magic users.
Mm-hmm.
You don't suspect that either of them spent any time in the pilot house. Now, does that mean that, is there some threshold? Or does it have to be arcane or divine or, some other source of magic? It's still kind of open-ended. But there were two obvious magic users, and neither of them were pilots, at least as far as you know.
Was the pilot tiefling? There's innate magic in tieflings.
There are. Well, here, I'll counter with this. The Shadowheart Empire is primarily made of humans and tieflings. There's some other races, like a notable minority would be dwarves. Dwarves are not known to be inherently magic, nor are humans. So even if there was a tiefling pilot, you still had two ships, and there were definitely humans that were in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also, I'd also go on to wager that in case something happened to the pilot, presumably someone else should be able to be knowledgeable enough to, take over, or at least be able to do some basic, maneuvers or a landing procedure or some sort of training in case something happened. If not all soldiers are inherently magical.
But an exertion of will was required. That doesn't necessarily mean arcane practitioner. but an exertion of will.
Now that we can agree upon. But as far as how I managed to end up doing it, well, if you think you could start her up, by all means.
Mordecai, do you wish to?
I'm going to attempt. Just
Sure.
to. Just for shits and giggles.
Okay. Yeah, you're approaching this as you are. Go ahead and make a perception. Or not a perception. Persuasion.
Oh, that's an 11. I forgot to switch that.
He goes up to the... So, Seltur, he kind of goes up, holds the wheel. Nothing's immediately happening.
What is it that you think about when you try to get this thing going?
Well, the first thing, assumption there is I'm thinking about much of anything. I hate to end up telling you this here, but Riggs, I don't end up operating on that level. Mine's a completely different thing.
What do you feel then?
That I want to end up going up. That I wish to fly. That I wish to end up making the sky my own. To look down upon the world as, well, once would suggest my ancestors once did.
Fair.
I can appreciate the near want of flying. She places a hand on the control.
Mordecai, what makes you feel like you can fly? What sets you free? You're a bard, are you not?
I am.
Do you express yourself through song, dance, stories?
Playing my violin, which I miss terribly, is definitely gets me out of the room that I'm in and being incredibly awkward and just lets whatever happen.
You may not have a violin, but you have a harmonica.
I'm gonna try and play it.
Seltur, you have one hand on the wheel. Mordecai?
I put a hand on the wheel. Still.
Okay. Make a performance.
Oh,
You rolled a 1. But you know what?
a natural 1.
You have a 9. If it's a plus 9, that's still pretty venerable. Well,
Not as easy as it looks, is it?
what I will do, Mordecai, because you are getting an assist from Seltur, you can roll this at advantage.
So roll one more time.
Yeah.
15.
You start expressing yourself through music. Seltur's there and is presumably helping in this regard. And after a little bit of a playtime here, as you start letting yourself freed from awkwardness, freed from all the things that music frees you from, the engines do start to hum. Now, Seltur may very well have a literal hand in this, but you're making contact all the same, and the engines are starting, so you're not necessarily preventing anything.
moves her hand on top of Mordecai. So it's in a very soft moment. And she just kind of gazes out at the sky. It's almost a beautiful moment. She looks and like she's lost on the sky, the night sky. So she wanted to reach out and touch it. Looking to Mordecai, she smiles a bit. It's said that if you can reach the stars, you have a view of the gods. And in here, for briefest of moments, we can be so. There's nothing more beautiful than that.
$27.
27. The maw, invoked by Seltur's honey in your ears, or slathering your horns again if you listen through those. The maw responds and creaks and groans, almost like a giant mouth would. You just feel a connection. Something, you can't really even explain it, just it's like you know what you're doing at the wheel. It's responding to your intention.
I lift off.
Okay? Against the the 5 engines. Into the night sky.
What do you know?
Like I said, has very little to do with, well, being able to end up saying abracadabra.
Seltur, make an insight at advantage, given the conversation and everything that's been revealed.
I know nothing.
A 1 or a 9.
And that's par for the course.
That's fine. You're happy to be proud of yourself, and this is what it is.
Now, if you can, fly high. Fly so high that you can see the clouds from the top. Oh.
Mordecai afraid of heights, Silverleaf.
Uh-huh.
Suddenly in Looney Tunes, you just remember there's gravity.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did.
You can thank Wile E. Coyote for that.
What?
Not a fan of heights.
She kind of keeps one hand on his one. Yeah, his hand's on the controls, and she kind of just lurks over him. Not really lurks, she just presses up against his back and places a hand and starts to raise. You're the master of your own destiny when you choose to take it. You fly, and you command the skies themselves. You need not fear falling, because the concept of fall bows to you here.
With these sweet words, just murmuring.
I did ask for courage. Suppose this is an exercise in flexing that.
There's no need for courage when you own the world.
Mordecai.
And he lifts off a little bit more.
Make another performance straight up. The maw creaks, the engines whir and buzz, and you continue to gain altitude. The stars aren't zooming up to meet you, but they're definitely, you're getting closer. Mordecai, you make an insight at advantage.
Just kind of relaxing a little bit now that he's playing an instrument and piloting a ship, kind of. 21.
You relax. It's a whole new world, and don't you dare close your eyes. You're free. You're the master of your destiny. Seltur's words are powerful, clinging. The inner poet and songwriter in you is probably working right now to churn out rhymes and cadences and notes for this type of experience as you're trying to take everything in. Of course, if you had some Luciferus, you'd take even more in. Sadly, you don't.
No. He's very happy not being addicted to drugs anymore.
This is so wonderful, just being free, being the master of my own destiny, being so empowered, and it's wonderful, and it's powerful. True freedom and power. And as you're experiencing these emotions, Mordecai, which is why I'm calling for insight here, this isn't so much an investigation, this is what you feel, not what you think. There, in the sky above the Aslandian desert, the stars twinkling, the moon shining, it dawns on you. Presumably anyone can power a ship like this, or at least command it. And while the practice of the engines might be grating against different people's moral beliefs about what's in them or fuels them or commands them, you realize that a ship like this is a weapon of war, ultimately. It could be used for other things, but this one here is a weapon of war. And as such, it would seem that the Shadowheart Empire has found a way to weaponize will. To have an average person control undead, to continue to conquer as they have, else why would they be an empire? Filled with such pride in themselves and their country and their people. And as such, it seems they found an extension of that will. And a broken piece of it is in your hands, Mordecai.
Weaponized will.
What was that?
Weaponized will. That's what this
Like-
ship is.
Yeah, it's at this point Seltur removes her hand. Oh, Mordecai. Sweet, beautifully naive Mordecai. You don't see it. Not yet. Look at the stars, look at the clouds, look at the world below. Here, this moment, it's all yours. Beauty of the stars, they dance for you. The yourself falls for you. This is not us elevating. This is the ground bowing before you. This is not the clouds going beneath you and you ascending. This is them bowing in acceptance that you are above them. This beauty that you see, this one that so few ever had, is all for you. Because this moment, you're powerful. Everybody cries from it. Oh, to be powerful is such a horrible thing, because you will always misuse it, never once looking at it for what it is. Acknowledgement, strength, it grows. You right now are king. You stand on a vessel where the dead lift you to heights unknown and the world bows for it. Her mouth widens a bit to that horrible, wonderful grin. At this point, should you want it, it is yours. And this here, she drags a finger along the wood of the ship, is an extension of you making the world exactly how you wish it to be. And it's a wonderful gift. And the only shame of it is that you never let yourself see it. You never take the crown, you never take what you really want. And you keep saying that you'll become lesser for it. You're gonna lose something. Never once do you ever ask yourself, what do you have to gain? And even more tragic than that, you never ask yourself what you already have. You never asked, because you never knew. You got the whole world in your hand. Try not to crash. She kind of leans over and just kind of, she might nuzzle kind of his hair at the moment before she leaves, realizing now he's got the wheel, he can't leave. And starts walking to bed. Seltur has just left you 10,000 feet in the air and locked in that position with no way down. Now the question is he fearful or is he taking in words that she meant? And better question, did you really understand, or do you really understand what she said?
He definitely understands that power doesn't always corrupt, but it easily can. And he doesn't want that. He already feels corrupted by the vampirism. So he's gonna be contemplating that for a while.
Poor Mordecai still doesn't get it.
And I believe here, with Mordecai, you are left to pilot the ship in the starry skies above Aslandia. The wind blowing through your hair. left to contemplate your place in the grand scheme of things, who you are, what you are, what just happened.
All the things that he's been contemplating for a long time.
Maybe now you have a little bit of a different perspective, literally and metaphorically.
Yep.
And so we'll, Fluffy, yeah, I'm sorry about that. There was a volume slider that was in a deficient position. I didn't know that, I didn't see anyone saying that it was bad, so I didn't know it was, but I said, you know what, I think I could adjust this a little bit. So sorry if the volume was down a lot on the background stuff, everyone. But yep, we'll leave off here, Mordecai, at the helm of the Maw.
Yep.
And good game. Yeah.
GG.
For all of you out there who stayed through all or part of it, thank you, and I hope that you enjoyed this Tuesday RP session.
Thank you.
Oh, goodness.